Om Shanti. I'd like to share some thoughts about churning. As you know, churning is a motion that is circular. Normally it refers to taking milk into the state of butter, and you have to move your paddle in the milk round and round and round until a certain point comes where the buttermilk separates from the butter, and then you have succeeded in your churning. And this word is used for us in Gyan to churn the ocean of knowledge. Of course, this idea of churning the ocean of knowledge comes from one of the mythologies where there was a mountain deep under the ocean. On top of that mountain was an enormous tortoise, and there was a huge snake who was turned around the back of that tortoise, and all the devils were on one side, all the deities on the other side, and they were churning the ocean, and eventually out of that ocean churning came the nectar of knowledge, which was then distributed by Lakshmi. So this is the myth that is associated with it. Now, the Murli that we study is given by Shiv Baba through Brahma Baba, Shiv Baba, the ocean of knowledge, and the points of the Murli, they come, sometimes they're connected with each other, sometimes they're not connected with each other, so it's like the ocean throws up a wave in one direction, another wave in another direction. And I had looked at a few Murlis and calculated that there's probably something in the region of 300 points in any given Murli. Now, if you want to churn the Murli, the best thing to do is first of all to read it through once. Then go back, read it through again. Then go back, read it through a third, fourth, fifth time. Now, when you do that, it's quite difficult. It becomes more difficult each time because you encounter resistance. But what also happens with your successive readings is the Murli starts to separate into different streams or themes, and you start to be able to grasp the underlying currents that there are. So the ocean, as you know, is very huge, very deep, and on the surface it has all these little wavelets. As you go further down, there are these big currents, and you want to be able to get at those currents through several times reading, and then you need to sometimes stop, take time to really think about some of these emergent themes, and as you think about them, and then perhaps even go and read the Murli again of another 2, 3, 4 times, and finally you arrive at the bottom of the ocean. And at the bottom of the ocean is where you find your jewels, your treasures. These are your realizations, your insights. And when you have actually worked the Murli, and this is not it's a lot of work, and I don't think you can expect to do this for every Murli every day, but every so often you should definitely take up a Murli, preferably one that really strikes you as a particularly interesting one, and take the time. It may be several hours, but maybe on the weekend, or if you're sick or something like this, you have time, you're on vacation, and really go to the depth of the Murli. And there, that treasure, that jewel that you get from the bottom, that is the nugget, that is the essence of the Murli. And then you commit that into your intellect, and you always have that wisdom to draw on in the future. So it's a really worthwhile thing to do from time to time. Obviously, every day you don't necessarily have that kind of time, but definitely do it a few times to be able to grasp the method and you will find it's extremely helpful in your self-sustenance and also when you have to present the knowledge to a group of new students or a public lecture. So this is just a brief look at churning. So thank you for your attention, and Om Shanti.